Imagine being paid $250,000 to fall in love with a stranger. A stranger whose father begged me to save him. A stranger who carried a secret so heavy, it almost destroyed us both. This is the night everything changed. On a frozen dock, under falling snow, when I discovered the truth about Julian Warwick and why I would never, ever leave him. Let me take you back to the moment it all began. October rain was hammering the windows of my tiny studio in Wicker Park, Chicago. I was 26, broke, and eating instant noodles for the third night in a row when my phone lit up. Unknown number. I almost let it go to voicemail. Instead, I answered. "Good evening, Miss Claire. This is Elias Warwick." My fork stopped halfway to my mouth. Elias Warwick. The Elias Warwick. The man whose face was on the cover of Forbes last month. I managed a week. "How did you get my number?" "That's not important," he said, voice smooth as aged whiskey. "What matters is I have a proposition, one that will erase every debt you have and change your life forever." There was a pause long enough for my heart to slam against my ribs. "I need someone to date my son," he said. "I'll pay you $250,000 for 3 months of your time, all expenses paid, no intimacy required. Just be there for him, make him feel again." I laughed. A short, panicked sound. "You're joking. I've never been more serious in my life." He sent proof that night. Bank routing numbers, contracts drafted by the best lawyers in the country. A photo of his son, and that's when I saw Julian Warwick for the first time. Even in a photograph, he looked like someone who had forgotten how to breathe. I said yes before I could talk myself out of it. The first night. The restaurant was on the 42nd floor, overlooking the Chicago River, glittering black and gold. I arrived early, palms sweating, wearing the only nice dress I owned. When the elevator doors opened, he was already there. Julian Warwick in real life was so much worse than the photograph. Tall. Shoulders that carried the weight of the world. Dark hair falling into eyes, the color of a forest after rain. He stood when he saw me. "You're Avery," he said quietly. Not a question. Just recognition. His voice was low, gentle, and so very tired. We sat. He ordered for both of us without looking at the menu. Like he'd memorized every safe thing in the world. Conversation was careful, polite, like walking across thin ice. But every time he looked at me, something shifted in his eyes, something small and fragile trying to wake up. At the end of the night, he walked me to my car. "Thank you for coming," he said. Then he did something that undid me completely. He reached out, hesitated, then gently tucked a loose strand of hair behind my ear. His fingers lingered for half a second. And in that half second, I forgot I was being paid. The next 8 weeks were a dream I wasn't allowed to wake up from. Art galleries on Sunday mornings. Long walks along the lakefront trail when the air smelled like snow coming. Quiet dinners in tiny Italian places where nobody knew his last name. He never touched me. Not once. No hand-holding. No arm around my waist. Nothing. And it started to hurt. Because every time he laughed, really laughed at something I said, I felt it in my chest like a bruise. One night, after a jazz concert in Millennium Park, we stood under the twinkling lights of the Bean. I couldn't take it anymore. "Julian," I said softly, "why do you keep me at arm's length?" He looked at me for a long, long time. Then he said the words that changed everything. "Because I know why you're here, Avery. I know my father paid you." The world stopped spinning. I felt the tears rise instantly. "I'm so sorry," I whispered. "I never meant—" "I'm not mad," he cut in, voice cracking. "I'm grateful. Because for the first time in 6 years, I'm not numb when I'm with someone." He stepped closer. "I just need you to know, everything I've felt these past weeks, that's been real. All of it." Then he brushed a tear from my cheek with his thumb. His hand was shaking. So was mine. Early December. Elias insisted we spend a long weekend at the family lake house in Door County, Wisconsin. 4-hour drive north. Snow started falling halfway there. The house appeared like something out of a storybook. All warm wood and stone, glowing against the white. Julian was different here. He smiled more. He laughed without forcing it. On the second night, he found me in the library staring at old photo albums. He sat beside me on the leather couch. "That's my mom," he said quietly, pointing to a beautiful woman with kind eyes. "Nora. She died when I was 23. Cancer. 6 months from diagnosis to goodbye." His voice broke on the last word. I closed the album and took his hand. He let me. That night, he fell asleep on the couch with his head on my shoulder. I stayed awake for hours, listening to him breathe. The next evening, the snow was thick and silent. Julian appeared in the doorway wearing his coat. "Come with me," he said. He led me down the snowy path to the private dock. We sat on the edge, legs dangling over black water, sharing one thick blanket. He was quiet for a long time. Then he spoke, voice raw. "Mom used to bring me here every Christmas. She'd say, 'Love isn't fireworks. It's choosing someone when it's hard, when it hurts, every single day.'" He turned to me. "I haven't chosen anyone since she died, because choosing means I could lose them. And I barely survived losing her. I know I wouldn't survive it again." My heart was in my throat. I slid my hand into his under the blanket. His fingers curled around mine like they'd been waiting years to do it. "I'm terrified too," I whispered. "But I'm still here. And I'm choosing you, Julian. Right now. Tonight." He stared at me, eyes shining. Then slowly, carefully, he leaned in and rested his forehead against mine. Snow fell around us like we were the only two people left in the world. When he finally kissed me, it felt like coming home. Soft, reverent, like he was scared I'd vanish. I kissed him back with everything I had, because I was already gone for him. Completely, irrevocably gone. Back in Chicago, 3 days later, I got a call from Elias. "Meet me at my office, alone." I went. He looked 10 years older than the last time I saw him. He slid an envelope across the desk. "Your payment." And something else. Inside was the check. And a photograph. Julian, maybe 23, laughing on that same dock. Arm around a beautiful girl. They looked so happy it hurt to see. "That was Clara," Elias said quietly. "His fiancée. She died in a car accident 3 weeks before their wedding. Julian was driving." The floor disappeared beneath me. "He blames himself," Elias continued, voice breaking for the first time. "Black ice. He swerved to avoid a deer. The car rolled. She didn't make it. He's been punishing himself ever since." I left the office in tears. That night, I went to Julian's penthouse unannounced. He opened the door and saw my face. "Avery." "I know about Clara," I said, holding up the photo with shaking hands. His knees buckled. He slid down the doorframe until he was sitting on the floor. "I was going to tell you," he rasped. "I swear I was." I knelt in front of him. "I'm not angry," I whispered. "I'm heartbroken for you." He looked up, tears streaming. "I killed her, Avery. I took the person I loved most in this world. How can I ever deserve happiness again?" I took his face in my hands. "You didn't kill her," I said fiercely. "You loved her. And a horrible, unfair accident happened. You've carried this guilt for 6 years. 6 years of torturing yourself. It's enough." He broke, completely shattered. Sobs tore out of him like they'd been locked inside for years. I wrapped my arms around him and held him while he cried. I cried too, because I realized I didn't just love the gentle, quiet parts of Julian Warwick. I loved the broken parts too. The guilt, the grief, the terror of being loved again. I loved all of him, and I was never letting go. 3 weeks later, we drove back to Door County on Christmas Eve. Just the two of us. Snow falling thick and silent. He was quiet the whole drive, When we reached the lake house, he took my hand and led me down to the dock again. This time, there was no trembling. He turned to me, got down on one knee. In his hand was his mother's platinum wedding band. "I don't deserve you," he said, voice thick. "I don't deserve anything good after what I've done. But you make me want to live again, Avery. You make me believe I'm allowed to be happy." Tears were freezing on my cheeks. "I'm choosing you," he whispered. "Every day. For the rest of my life. Will you marry me?" I couldn't speak. I just nodded, crying too hard to form words. He slipped the ring on my finger, stood up, kissed me like a man who had finally been set free. Snow fell around us. And for the first time in 6 years, Julian Warwick smiled like he meant it. So yes, a billionaire paid me to date his son. But somewhere between the fake smiles and the real tears, I fell in love with a man who thought he was unlovable. I fell in love with his pain, his gentleness, his courage to try again. And he fell in love with the girl who refused to leave when she saw the worst of him. That's our story. It didn't start with fairy tales. It started with a contract, but it ended with forever. And if you're watching this, and you've ever felt broken, if you've ever believed you don't deserve a second chance at love, please hear me. You do. There is someone out there who will love every cracked piece of you. Someone who will stay. Someone who will choose you, even when it's hard. I found mine on a snowy dock in Door County. And I will never stop thanking the universe that a billionaire once paid me to fall in love, because it gave me the greatest love of my life. If this story touched your heart even a little, please hit that like button for me. Leave a comment and tell me, have you ever loved someone through their darkest moment? I read every single one. And if you're not subscribed yet, subscribe right now. Because next week, I'm telling the story that almost broke me to tell. You won't want to miss it. Thank you for watching. This is Avery Claire. Signing off. I love you guys. See you in the next one.